willkommen zur neuen Ausgabe SE-Talk. Zwei neue Stories, muss man eigentlich gleich sagen. Und wir machen mal was Neues. Wir nehmen gleich 2 Firmen dran. Da sind wir effizienter. Auf der einen Seite haben wir Rio Silver von Chris Verrico, der your CEO and President.
That's correct.
And on the other side, Jeff Reeder, er ist Chairman and CEO von Peruvian Metals. Right?
Yeah, Peruvian Metals.
I must always look with my glasses.
Okay.
We are now in English, so we can stay in English.
Okay.
Normally I make a longer German intro. How it comes that we have 2 companies sitting on one table? Normally, you know, the mining industry is one company, and the big ones working on big projects together, but in the exploration stage, normally one company working on one project. So maybe Chris, you start and explain your company and how the relationship between you are showing up.
Great, Joe. Well, I'm happy to do that. Thanks for having us today. Not Peruvian Metals, but Rio Silver got its roots perhaps 20 years ago when Anglo Gold was making a pass through Peru, a very quick pass, looking for elephants sticking out of the ground, and they had a very rapid agenda. And Niñabamba was on one of their stops. They stopped at Niñabamba. They liked what they saw. They got permits. They drilled 1 hole, I believe, and the results were not, it was not a mine sticking out of the ground. It was obviously had lots of value, and they went on to do many great things. They staked 3 million hectares in Colombia shortly afterwards. So they were busy people, but they liked Niñabamba, and they farmed it out to Bear Creek, who was in Peru, and they went and drilled, I believe, a dozen holes thereabouts, and with reasonable results. They were in a rush as well for the same reasons. There were some low-hanging fruit in Peru, and Niñabamba was looking great, but it was going to take a bit more work. So they were carrying on. But in the meantime, at some point, Southern Peru Copper became an Niñabamba is one great big collapsed caldera. So Anglo Gold and Bear Creek were on one half of the caldera, and Southern Peru Copper had held the other half of the property. And along came Newmont, being a precious metal company, and they wanted to have a go at Niñabamba. So they made a deal, and Newmont spent $7 million at Niñabamba. A lot of it was to prove it was not a base metals project, but a precious metals project. They had very successful results. They went on to do all this metallurgical work to prove that it was, they could produce the material and there was going to be no problems. And then they took basically all the fatal flaws were eliminated, and they were just about to go back to the second half of drilling, with confidence that it was worth spending a lot of money on. And the market sort of got slow, and I guess they got distracted elsewhere, and somebody made a mistake and dropped one of the pieces of property. And at that point, we'll introduce Jeff in a moment, but Jeff was very astute and on the game, and he grabbed that thing. So that became the core asset of Rio Silver. Then going forward, 2012, when Newmont was still working, Rio Silver had done over $1 million worth of work on the other half, not the Newmont half, but the Bear Creek and
a lot of trenching.
A lot of trenching, a lot of regional sampling of soils. They got the project to drill readiness, and then we acquired the Newmont properties in 2016.
And something more about this too, because I was the QP of Rio Silver here. Bear Creek and Anglo Gold, they were drilling silver anomalies, and basically didn't recognize the gold potential. But we know on these type of systems that there must be a gold buried system, and we found a gold system as well. And we did some interesting trenches. So it's a really significant high sulfidation gold silver target. And those things are, they are low cost producers.
So flash forward till today, we've got the company cleaned up. It was a tough run through the market from 2012 and 2020, essentially, basically.
Yeah.
Niñabamba is a phenomenal world-class asset. It was probably why the company survived, and it's maybe one of the best high sulfidation epithermal deposits that's undeveloped in Peru today, known about. So we own it outright now. There's no royalties. It's royalty free. You would pay millions and millions and millions of dollars to have access to this project, and we own it. So,
And between the two companies like Newmont and Bear Creek and Angle Gold, there's been over 10 million spent in that area.
Okay.
And we got the entire database.
but they never had it. It was all fractional ownership. Now through Jeff's guidance, we control the whole caldera. Newmont surmised after their initial pass, their first pass of work, that there was 550,000 ounces or 575,000 ounces of gold and 6 million ounces of silver. It would make a very productive mid-sized mine, but even more importantly was the potential to find something much larger.
Okay.
So that's where they left off, and that's where we need to start. So we would that's going forward, where our plan is to get started, and how do we finance this thing? It's a big undertaking. We have a very valuable asset. So along come Jeff, and I'll introduce you to Jeff Reeder in Peruvian Metals. But Jeff has working in Peru many years, and he's also his company Peruvian Metals. He's the CEO. Has a functioning sulfide toll mill in north central Peru. Jeff's
Northern Peru, on the coast,
Peru, on the coast, and working on this business plan for about 6 years now, or longer. But enacting it, and the plant is up and running. It's cash flow positive, and they're building out the business plan for this plant up there. Along came a project, our project Palta Dorada, and Jeff said, "Listen, Chris, we're busy with our organic growth plan right now. If you buy this vein set, this property, which is 180 kilometers by road from the plant, you buy the property initially, and then we'll come back in. You can have access to my plant, and then we'll come back in and we'll spend the next $250,000, the same as what we spent, $250,000 US, and they'll spend all the money on capital, all the capital, required capital expense, and all the extraordinary things, and we'll share the production sales." Yeah. So that's where I'll introduce it, Jeff.
Yeah, and so my company, Peruvian Metals, we built we're processing third-party sulfide ore, but we are going we're going to be mining our own ore. We're purchasing ore, and we decided to do the sulfide base metals, lead, zinc, silver, copper, instead of going into the gold space, because it's an easier process, and it's less, for sales. We do a lot of sales inside. We don't export anything. We sell our concentrates inside the country. And this property that we looked at, and we opened up this toll mill. We've had deal flow coming through our mill. Miners coming, "Hey, we've got mill," and I said, "Hey, I don't got the space for your mineral, because I would rather treat my own mineral first than treat other people's mineral for just a toll fee." So this gentleman came up and he said, "Well, I want to sell this property," and we've been negotiating for over a year. And then last summer, just at the time when I just invested my capital into an expansion on our tailings area and everything, he comes up and says, I want to sell this property." And I said, "Well, I need a couple months to get the cash now." So then that's where Chris stepped in. He purchased it. The miners were hand sorting high-grade gold, and they were shipping it to southern Peru. The grades were 23 grams gold per ton, 29 ounces silver, 4.5% copper. But they're hand sorting, and the veins 60, 70 centimeters wide. I think we're going to be doing very well if we can be doing 12 to 13 gram gold equivalent. We will be making money on this, and what we're going to do is we're going to drift along the vein for our exploration. Instead of diamond drilling, we're drifting.
Okay.
And then we're going to take the mineral and process it, and that will pay for the exploration.
So that's mean your first plan is now to start with the drift and take this material,
process at the
plant,
yeah. Take the cash flow, keep on going.
And with this money you start your exploration.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna be exploring for high grade veins. The best way of doing that is underground work, not diamond drilling. It's too expensive, too common. We drift.
You follow
we follow the vein, and we can step out and do some drilling, underground drilling. We're going to be doing that, but we're going to follow the vein. It's high grade, and I think in this market, these are high margin projects. I mean, we can ship the mineral to our plant. We've got space for our plant. I think all in cost, for us to mill and mine, will be less than $200 a ton. So we're going to be targeting over 10 gram equivalent gold, and we'll be making money on that.
Yeah, $500 rock.
Yeah,
$500 and higher rock.
But we can also, there is going to be some high grade shoots there, because these when we went and did some sampling there, we were getting samples up to 55 grams of gold, and there's also an oxide source, so we can mine the oxide, send it to the southern plants, to plants like Dynacore or Inca 1 or some of the, but we can take the sulfide source and treat it at our plant. And if it makes any sense, we would even could build a new plant at that site.
The permit we're going to have in our hands in a matter of weeks
Yeah.
from now will allow us to build a mill on the property.
Yeah, and I've already built one before, and we
Yeah.
built it from scratch, and it's producing up to 90% recoveries on all the base metals that we're doing, so we know how to do it.
So 1 year out, when we've developed our plan, we can make a decision. Perhaps we want to build our own plant instead of all the trucking costs and treating costs.
Yeah.
We can do that internally for our own internal of our joint venture company.
Yeah,
So-
and things like with the cash flow for Rio Silver, they can start using that money to start developing the Nina Bomba project. And then myself, with our cash flow, is that we're going to expand our plant, and we're actually looking for other properties, and we can do it for cash flow.
So that's mean that you are directly in production, so without any resource calculation, without any other issues, I must say.
Okay,
That
so-
the problem is really on the, sorry that I interrupt you, but the problem I think in the resource world is that companies spend tons of money to coming up with this resource calculation, with all this permitting stuff and so on, and spend a lot of money then, and in the end they're coming up with a resource calculation or a feasibility study or maybe a pre-feasibility study. It's cost millions of millions, and then 10 years later maybe a decision coming and say, oh, we bring it in production or not.
Yeah.
So you have, from my understanding, no clue how big this potential.
Well, we know that there's several veins that's on the property. We know there's 840 meters that we've sampled
Length.
Yeah.
of length, and we're going to be doing this the Peruvian way. The biggest companies in Peru were built from doing exactly, you got a vein, you do your underground exploration. We're still going to come with a feasibility study and some resource calculation down the road, but we're going to drift along the vein on different levels. And that time, we're going to have a better understanding. Plus, the bulk sampling is going to pay for the exploration.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to the market all the time.
That's what my solution or my idea was. Also in the, I remember me when I starting in the industry, so 15 years ago, there was a tungsten mine in Portugal. They do the same, they follow the vein.
Follow the vein, yeah.
So, and they have only inventories for the next 2-3 years, but they're working now for 140 years.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
then they follow only the veins, and they do only too much drilling, so much
Yeah.
drilling that they can confirm the next 2-3 years,
Yeah.
but not longer. So,
Yeah.
and this is exactly the same way. You see it, you have showing, you know
Yeah.
exactly that's 800 meters, and you know.
And we've
this.
already done the metallurgical work and the veins, and these are type of veins. These are mesothermal veins, so
Very deep.
they're going to go deep, and they're in very competent intrusive rocks.
very
So
good
we know the mining is going to be easy, and as we drift and mine, we're going to understand the controls of the mineralization, and we will be able to diamond. We will be able to bring in underground rigs instead of drilling
From surface.
200-meter holes, for example. We'll be underground drilling 30-meter
Yeah.
holes and knowing like this is the next production
Yeah.
for next year.
Yeah.
And this is what Peruvian companies do. And this is people make a lot of money. And there's a real mining boom in Peru on the small miners. The miners are drifting along, and these things can turn into 100 tons a day to 200 tons a day to 300 tons a day, and that's hopefully where we're going to get to. I mean. And we're gonna, but the nice thing is we're going to use the you got the property, we've got the plant. It's a really good mix, and we're gonna get going on it.
So no, the beauty of them is that your dilution is, if it's running, you have no dilution.
No.
That's right.
The idea is for zero dilution. And in fact, on this particular deal, because Rio Silver owns the property, Jeff has to pay for the development portion of it.
Yeah.
We share in the.
We're gonna share the-
We share in this concentrate sales. But Jeff, and so the money I receive on my part will go towards getting our drilling permit for our Nina Bomba. We have to earn our social license, which is very important in Peru. Once you get that piece of work done in good shape with the community, you can fly.
Yeah.
So it's going to take us 4 to 6 months of work in the community. We have to do that and get our social license, as it
Yeah.
were, approvals.
Okay.
And that'll be funded by our funds from the.
And we have the capacity of our plant too. Right now it's 100 tons a day. We plan on doing a 500-ton bulk sample right away,
Okay.
500 tons, and then hopefully keep on doing that. And it's we're going to get a good understanding, but we got lots of space at the plant as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're going to expand the plant. We're going to do this in a couple other areas, and there's a couple other veins on the area. So we're going to start focusing on exploration on the main vein, and then as we get cash from the sales of our concentrates from the bulk sample, we're going to start working on the other side of the hills where there's other veins as well that are running 13, 15 gram gold.
So this will bring immediate benefit to Rio Silver. It's got its own development plan in itself. It becomes its own entity, and we can advance our flagship property, which is one of the best undeveloped high sulfation systems in Peru. So we think that Rio Silver is a win-win-win. Yeah.
So coming first to Rio Silver, how's the share structure looks like?
Shares, it's a little over 50 million shares out. I believe there's 35% is owned by insiders and management. Another 29% is owned by close associates of management, friends and family.
Yeah.
And so it's quite tightly held, we believe.
Yeah. And that forgot something. I have a conflict of interest. I'm a shareholder for Rio Silver.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I forgot this. So I'm a shareholder. So be aware. And your company?
Okay, so we got 85 million shares outstanding. Management reporting issuers are 28% of the stock. And I would say there's about another 3 or 4 guys that own another 10, 20 million, up to 20 million. So we've got, I know we're 28% is held by reporting insiders, and then another 25 is held by some pretty good friends.
Sort of similar.
Yeah,
holding.
but the thing is, I own close to 9 million shares of the company, and one thing is protecting my share capital is what I built the plant for, because right now my Peruvian subsidiary sends cash up to Canada for us to pay our bill, and as we expand the thing, this is where protection of our share capital is the most important thing.
Yeah,
Very low for any CEO of any company is protecting your share capital.
It's the most deadly thing for a junior company in this environment right now is dilution. So this is our business plan going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the other companies, they have no choice. So
exactly.
they cannot produce cash flow.
They don't have a toll mill in their back pocket.
Yeah, and also if you, for example, and I say this also many times in some speeches what I have, you can have the best gold drill hole in the world with a great intersection. You have no cash flow out of it.
You may never see a mine, may never see a mill, may never. You don't know.
That's right.
Ja.
That's the point. Ja, das war jetzt ein Doppelvorstellung von 2 Firmen. An der einen Seite Rio Silver, wo ich Aktionär bin, das habe ich total vergessen. Also die Sache ist ganz einfach, Sie haben eigentlich einen der besten Kupfer-Gold. Is your flagship project, is this a porphyry style? Or?
It's a
high sulfidation gold.
High sulfidation, okay. Wir haben eine der besten Projekte, er hat erklärt, welche Firmen das da alle drinnen waren, und sie haben das jetzt quasi konsolidiert. Aber wo kommt das Geld her für die ganze Exploration? Damit kommt jetzt eigentlich der Chef mit seiner zweiten Firma rein. Die haben eine Toll Milling, also eine Verarbeitungsanlage, wo sie im Auftrag von anderen das Erz verarbeiten und ein Konzentrat daraus machen, oder teilweise eben andere machen auch richtige Aufarbeitung der Mühle, damit kleine Produzenten, so Small Miners, ihr Zeug hinbringen können und das aufarbeiten. So, er hat aber gesagt, er will für seine Mühle eigentlich großteils sein eigenes Erz verwenden. Und letztes Jahr ist ein Projekt zu ihm auf den Tisch gekommen, wo er quasi das Erz abgenommen hat, um das zu verarbeiten. Der verkauft sein Projekt und will aber sofort hat eine Menge Geld haben wollen. Das hat er nicht liefern können, aber der Chris hat es liefern können, und deswegen ist daraus ein 50-50 Joint Venture geworden. Chris ist der Inhaber des Projektes, der Chef hat die Mühle dazu. Jetzt machen sie eines, sie machen so, wie es früher auch gemeint worden ist und wie es jetzt auch in Peru sehr oft gemacht wird von Small Miners. Sie gehen quasi mit dem Drift, mit dem Schacht oder mit den Stollen rein in das Erz, bauen das Erz ab und verarbeiten das Erz gleichzeitig in große Samples, und die Cashflow oder das Geld, was man dabei verdient, zahlt sozusagen für die Exploration der anderen Projekte. Was führt dazu? No Dilution. Keine Dilution ist extrem wichtig. Wir hassen alle Dilution, weil wir wissen, die Verwässerung bringt uns fast um. Und das ist jetzt genau die Sache. When you think you can start with the first bulk sample?
We're going to start in February. That's where we're going to start putting all the material in. I'm hoping to get our first samples in processing before the PDAC. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Some of the material flowing from before the PDAC.
I've got the miners ready to go. I mean, these guys are
they're chopping.
They're chopping. But we're just waiting for a few more little
permitting.
a few little documents first, and then
Okay.
and then we're going to be moving our crew in, and it's a nice thing is we don't really have to purchase anything. We're bringing in contract miners. Yeah, they have all the equipment to go.
Ja. Okay, also vor der PDAC soll bereits das Mining beginnen, und das heißt, wir werden dann eigentlich in den nächsten paar Monaten den ersten Cashflow kann man nicht sagen, solange man keine Ressource hat, aber den ersten Erträge daraus sehen, und diese Erträge sorgen dafür, dass dann dementsprechend die Exploration stattfindet, wo man dann natürlich Ressourcen draus macht und so weiter und so fort. Also wo man dann sagt, okay, wo muss man hingehen für die nächsten paar Monate, Jahre, damit man das beste Erz hat für seine Mühle. Spannende Sache, vor allem was mir gefällt, ist keine Dilution. What is the market cap of your company?
2 million.
2 million, okay.
Yeah, and mine's 3 million.
3 million. So, and what kind of, when you say, okay, you ramp up it a little bit and so on, what we can expect on monthly revenue, what you're making?
Okay, revenue. Okay, so revenue aside, for just toll milling, we do about 1.4 million in 2019. Based on 18,000 tons of mineral that we process.
Mm-hmm.
But once we actually sell our own concentrates, we buy the mineral, sell our concentrates, our revenues are going to be much higher.
But this time next year, the only material that will be going to Jeff's plant will be all of his own material.
Oh yeah,
But we'll be the only other people access to the plant.
Yeah.
So what makes it easier also to run the plant, and you know exactly which kind of material.
Yeah, well, and another side though too, what I plan on doing for Peruvian Metals is that I'm going to do a couple of deals like what I did with Chris with Rio Silver. We have miners that are coming to us, and I'm saying, listen, the only way you're going to have space in our plant is let me help you develop your properties, and let's go from, you're doing 500-600 tons a month, let's get up to 2,000 tons a month, and I'll help you do that. And you got space in my plant, but we have to share the development costs. And there's a couple of places that we actually have our own concessions that are further away, need a little bit more work, and we're going to look at those to have 100% ownership for our own mineral as well. Okay. But that's the goal of the thing, and my focus on the company is to consider, look for the small, high grade veins. We can make a lot of money on that stuff, and being large shareholders, hopefully one day I can start paying some dividends back to the stockholders, which is ourselves, and really focus on these small veins, which are plentiful in Peru. And we could get maybe 3 or 4 little operational
similar operations,
in that country to fill our plant, and would be very profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Very profitable.
Maybe Rio Silver will be a part of that. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first step right now with this Platinum Morale, and it's a very good acquisition. I was very pleased that Chris helped us do that.
And it takes 2 little companies to make this happen. One company might have had trouble by itself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So.
Okay. Ja, das war jetzt ein interessantes Interview. Ich meine, Sie haben es jetzt zum Schluss gehört. Also das ist die Richtung, wo es hingehen soll. Quasi No Dilution, Profit gleich aus der Mine selber, indem man die Exploration vorantreibt und das Erz gleich verarbeitet. Und ja, spannende Sache. Bin gespannt, wie es weiterläuft. Bei einem Aktie bin ich ja selber schon Aktionär. Und dann schauen wir mal, wie es weitergeht. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
And very interesting story.
Yeah.
Total different to the other ones.
No, very
good
different,
luck.
yeah,
Good luck with all the regulatories and permitting things, and then hopefully.
I've been doing it 25 years in Peru, so we know how to do it. So.
Perfect.
Okay.
Ja, das war's aus Vancouver 2020 von Rio Silver und Peruvian Metals. Tschüss und Baba.